cooperate with the government to contain the spread.
We have now established that there is community spread of COVID-19 in Gombe State.
Okay, there you go. There is community spread in Gombe. That is what they're grappling with now. So 3 commissioners, 5 members of the State House of Assembly and a special advisor are among the 63 new positive cases of COVID-19 in Gombe State. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Chamberlain. So
I'm Kayodoki Kyolu.
Good morning, I'm Ayo Makine. Welcome to the show.
Well, yes, indeed, I'm speaking about Gombe. The Commissioner of Information, Ibrahim Al-Hassan, actually announced that. And so, yeah, but let's not also forget, Mark Ware is also joining us this morning.
Oh, yes, indeed. After the rain comes the sunshine, just that it might mess with your electricity. Good morning from Abuja. I'm Mark Ware Yusuf.
Oh, dear. Who doesn't like a little rain?
Maybe your decoder as well.
Well, who knows how all of this is. But, you know, the thing about this, the more some people say they try to ignore or see how they could keep going about their duties, ignoring parentheses now, it's difficult. Look at the ones in Gombe, for instance, where Ibrahim Al-Hassan, that was the person who announced that, explaining that the positive cases were confirmed out of the 609 people who were tested in 4 days. But he did appeal to residents to cooperate with the state task force on this COVID so that they can get ahead and at least get a hang of some of those testings. But at the moment, 663 new cases. That is what the NCDC has confirmed recently. And boy, last time you had 500 and wow, this was the highest one. And now you've got 663 new cases. So it's not abating as many would have thought. So, well, we don't know if they're going to blame it on so many things, but whatever it is, it does show that we need to pay attention to all of these things. And but the big challenge is those guidelines, those measures, the social distancing, ensuring that you have your masks, is going to be huge. But thankfully, good to see that 1,704. Those are the new samples that were tested in 24 hours. But previously, there was about 1,442 that were tested the previous day. But the total cases now, well, it's more concerns. And who knows? Is it going to keep rising? The new confirmed cases? A lot will depend on us.
You know, what was quite tricky about this was the calm just before this, what you might call a storm. Because I recall just, 2 days ago, we're speaking with a professional, and we're asking, Lagos recorded just 2 digits. We had Lagos recording less than 100, and we thought, oh, wow, maybe we're starting to dip. And you'll recall that the Minister of Health, the Minister of State for Health, and the officials, PTF officials have said, we are not peaking we've not peaked yet, and we're not entirely sure when we will peak. Some states have projected, you have those states saying, well, at this time we'll peak. But nationally, we're not sure when we will peak. So seeing 663 was quite shocking for a lot of people. But then, hey, what did you expect? Because we have not peaked yet. We don't know what that peak will be like. And, this was not a record for Lagos State. Lagos recorded less than 200. But you see, for Ogun State, for the very first time, Ogun State had over 100 cases of COVID-19 in a day. Now, this is Ogun State that the max they recorded previously was maybe below 50 or thereabouts, all of a sudden recording over 100. It was a record for a lot of states, really.
Ogun State had the extended lockdown period, by the way, so you'd have thought that all of those will, come on in check. But now, 108, we don't know.
Well, the lockdown is the official position. What is the people's role? How compliant were we as a people? I think that's what this whole thing is about. 74% of all the sources of all the infections are from what you call unknown exposure. You don't even know how. That's what that means. You don't know how you contracted or came in contact with, you got infected with COVID-19. And that should be a significant scare for anyone. I don't know if we're even getting that message.
You always have that.
Yes, it is. And it's also very, very comforting to know that it's not a death sentence. It is also very, very comforting that most of the people who have it, some 97% of thereabout, are going to come out of it hale and hearty. Very, very comforting to know that. But at the same time, there is no mark on anyone that says, okay, this is the guy that is going to survive, that's the guy that's going to die. You never really know. That margin of error, well, yes, it's...
They told us about the immune system. If you don't have any
all of that is good,
cases.
But we know ourselves. We know how we treat our health in this part of the world. How many people go for, regular checks to even know the state of their health, to know whether or not you have, you do, yeah, I do. Well, but how many out there?
So that's
many of the people...
Oh, okay. He's raised his hand behind the camera. Oh, okay, somebody else behind the camera.
Well, yes. Well, I can see all of these, but there are many who are not even watching us now who are not. I mean, the people we're talking about, when Gombe is talking about community transmission, are these people in those communities part of those people that you have listed who go to check their health to know whether or not they are vulnerable, health-wise?
And something that was quite interesting for me is the fact that, the PTF coordinator held a meeting with traditional rulers, community leaders, because we've got into a phase of community transmission. So it's only fair to involve those that are seen as, major stakeholders in communities. And that was quite instructive. So if you can get them to buy in very well, then this messaging should be quite easy.
That is on the one hand. On the other hand is the fact that, yes, we are contending seriously with COVID-19, but then we hear pockets of stories of other occurrences. You heard of these mysterious deaths in Kano, in Jigawa, in Yobe.
They told you what happened.
And just yesterday, well, we have heard of all of that, but just yesterday we were hearing of mysterious deaths in Bonny Island. Now, these things are supposed to give us serious, serious concerns. And it goes back to what the NCDC has said repeatedly. We need to take responsibility because it's not written on anyone that this is the guy that's going to survive or this is the guy that's going to die.
Not that people are not doing
COVID-19. Yes, but
So
how well? You heard our guest, was it Monday
It's
or
difficult to measure how
Friday?
well.
Exactly.
It's not exactly
Yeah, but
straightforward.
I mean, it's just of serious concern. Mapwe?
Well, I think that there are two things to ask ourselves here. First, is it that the people don't believe or they don't care? Those are two different scenarios. It's one thing for you to believe, because if you don't believe, you will not take any precautions. If you don't think that there's anything out there that should scare you or can scare you or is a threat to your life, then, you will take absolutely no precaution. I mean, and you would not do anything despite what anybody else says. Or is it that they're tired of the messaging and they think that, well, people are not dropping dead, people are surviving, and I feel fine, I feel okay, everybody around me looks healthy enough, so I don't know what people are talking about. Is that what this is about? I think that it's very important for us to be able to differentiate. And I wish that, we could talk to people more. Because only yesterday, I read an article, I don't know, I think I tried to send it to you guys, about, caution fatigue being a thing. I saw it on a website yesterday, and that people, as time goes on, a part of your brain, especially when it has assessed the threat, might get tired or might continue to say this threat is not as big as it was. So I remember I saw a joke. I don't know if it was supposed to be a joke or a graph, but it was quite graphic. It was true, but it was also quite funny to me, that in the beginning of this virus, the rate of infection was this small, but the fear was this big. Now we have the rate of infection being this big, but it looks like the fear is being this small. People are no longer afraid of the virus. And I think that's a big question we need to ask. Where is this lack of regard for the virus coming from? Is it that they have analyzed the threat of the virus and they see that, oh, it's not as deadly as we initially thought it was? Or, what's all the hula baloo? Maybe the virus doesn't even exist anyway. Maybe that's what is causing it. But whatever it is, there is that part of your brain that after it has taken precaution for a while, it will actually begin to tell you that the threat is not as bad, and you could actually drop caution. And that is a natural thing according to scientists. So we have to do something about that to tell people that, look, just as the national coordinator said, now look, this virus has escaped. And I think that there are some very, very good messaging boards out there that are saying, look, guys, this virus has not gone away. Yes, we have eased lockdown despite the rate of increase in infections. We have eased lockdown. In fact, there's some states that are saying we're not going to do any lockdowns again. The most you're going to have is curfews. And then you have to ask what exactly informs that particular decision. We do not know. We've been told that we're going to do targeted lockdowns as time goes on. We haven't seen, I know that the NCDC says that the local governments that have been most affected are on their website, and we should check them out. I think about 20 or so carry the heaviest burdens in the country, and that as it goes up, they might be forced to put targeted lockdowns in those particular local governments so they do not spread it elsewhere. But as the national coordinator did say yesterday, the virus is obviously with us. It has escaped. It's no longer under control. We do not have this under control. What are we going to do about it? But I think that if we do not identify what has caused this lackadaisical attitude amongst us, because a lot of people are going about without their masks. The law enforcement agencies that are even supposed to help you keep to the rules, they too don't seem to be concerned anymore because they believe that you already know. And if you're not taking responsibility, then that's your problem. I do not know if that is an attitude that we should encourage, but I think that it's something that we definitely should do something about. It's sad that the coronavirus, has escaped. It is sad that, I don't want to say it's sad that it has not taken as many lives, because I think that if there was a higher fear of morbidity, people would take a lot more precaution. But because they know that, it's not a death sentence, people are surviving this thing anyway. Maybe that's why we're getting lackadaisical about it. Just maybe. I still do not know what the reason is.
Well, there's going to be, I just wonder what happens when states eventually lift the interstate lockdown. And perhaps if you look at this most affected age group, 31 to 40, and then it will suggest, but we'll have to go for the dailies. We'll bring up that matter much later. Let's start with Vanguard today and see how they are reflecting what's going on. Well, they are focusing on Edo politics as a big lead on the front page this morning. Edo APC's NWC has final say on aspirants' credentials. National Chairman Adams Oshiomhole, that's ascribed to him, adds screening committee, High Court, appeal committee, I'll go again. Adds screening committee, High Court, appeal committee, High Court, NWC Supreme Court. Are you kidding me? Okay, well, that's what it says here. Oshiomhole is sponsoring protests against Obaseki in Abuja, Edo Deputy Governor. Obaseki will emerge APC candidate, says Adamawa Governor Fintiri. Court stops APC Oshiomhole from adopting any method for primary. I thought INEC had already published the mode of primaries, and they indicated that of the Edo as well, Edo APC as well. But who knows? I mean, whatever latest judgment is that they're bound to obey it. And then 2023 presidency. They're already talking about it. They've been talking about it for a while. I don't know if they'll stop. Why Tinubu GAC dissolved mandate group Justice Forum. Then the writer reads, Tinubu Aregbesola deny frosty relationship. What do you expect? Why groups were dissolved? GAC member. So that's what you have on the front page here.
And you won't blame a lot of people if they don't take that, really, because we heard this one time between the national chairman of the APC
if the people hypothesize.
So,
well, scientists can hypothesize all they want, but politics is politics, and it's never the textbook politics as it plays out in Nigeria. Look at the back page of Vanguard Sports, guys. EPL restart. Akeredolu bans viewing centers in Ondo over COVID-19.
what are they viewing, though?
You heard football. It's crazy about football.
Just Bundesliga?
It's football.
No. Ahead of the EPL restart.
Oh, right.
So if EPL starts,
okay,
the passion will double. That's the calculation, and that's it. Right. No viewing center, guys. No viewing center.
Right.
Don't say you know.
Are we going to have community police to police that?
Do you have community police at all?
Just asking. Just
unless you want to turn yourself to National Assembly and pass the law right away, then you have it. But until then,
But
I'm not
there's,
sure
there's
we do.
Amotekun though.
Could you? The Nigerian Tribune,
What did
please.
you call it? Okay.
Well, let's go over to the Nigerian Tribune and see what's making the rounds. The big story, COVID-19 versus primaries. It's quite interesting. You see, Edo APC factions fight over Obaseki's gazette. Oshiomhole inaugurates screening committee, says party must avoid Bielsa scenario. But if you see the trend, I mean, it's a no-brainer for a lot of people. And you see this other one, INEC affirms direct primary for APC. In fact, the APC was the only party to have said they will want to go the direct primary way for Edo State. All other parties chose indirect. But you find more details on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And right under the big picture, by the way, that big picture shows members of CSOs during a protest against incessant rape. The Minister of Women Affairs in Abuja yesterday. And, well, right under that, you see, no war, Tinubu, Aregbesola say, and, you know, the other riders. And you see that one in black, Burundi president, 55, dies of heart attack.
What a
That
sad
was,
scenario.
Yeah, it was quite shocking to see that President Pierre Nkurunziza passed on at the age of 55.
Given his age and the age of African leaders, we say he's pretty young.
Yeah, yep.
55.
Quite sad. But right on top of the nameplate, you see that Gombe story. 3 Gombe commissioners, 5 legislators, special advisor test positive. El Rufai opens churches, mosques for Sunday, Jumat services. Fear of mysterious deaths grip Jos residents. You wonder, when will they carry out autopsy? But we'll follow that one and see what comes out of it. A couple of other stories on the front page. Let me just give you this one to brighten your morning. Mother of 13 gives birth to quadruplets in Zaria. That's right. So yeah, amidst all the COVID-19, the mysterious death, you still have heartwarming stories. This one is coming from Zaria. Mother of 13, by the way, adds quadruples to it. Well, quadruplets rather. So it's on page 30 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning.
The Daily Trust leads with, of course, has the Edo story. We'll get there. But before that, Boko Haram kills 69 people in Borno village. This seems not to be going anywhere soon, despite the army's bombings and efforts to decimate. But that's what we have. You may want to find out details on page 5 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Obaseki kicks as INEC approves direct primary for Edo. That story is on page 4. Perhaps, as you said, Kade, the only state where the national body says we're going direct. Others are wanting to have indirect. More details in inside pages. Right under the picture there of protests against rape. Disquiet in Lagos, APC as Tinubu dissolves all political groups. Find that details yourself right there. How migration to online training sustained my business. Perhaps something you may want to learn. It's there on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. Back page has a few sports stories you may want to check out. That's the Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
Well, let's look at leadership for you. They have, as a lead headline, lawyers, CSOs divided over special court for rapists. That's your first story. First ladies to brief governors as women protest rising rape cases. Man, 35, that's a 35-year-old man, to be arraigned over rape of own daughter. I think this is one of the worst forms ever. When a father or a supposed father rapes his own daughter. It's just terrible. Just beneath the nameplate there, anti-piracy war. UN commends Nimasa, Nigerian Navy, says country sending strong, valuable message to the world. And you also see that story on Burundi's president here, Nkurunziza, who died at the age of 55. At the bottom there, WTO accepts PMB's nominee for DG. That's Okonjo Iweala. It's on page 2 of the paper. Other stories on the corner there. COVID-19. Federal government to prosecute supermarkets, pharmacies over price hike. That would be interesting. EU donates 52 metric tons of medical equipment to Nigeria. Academics, lawyers to screen Obaseki others for Edo APC governorship primary. NWC will reject outcome of screening if, and that's according to Oshomole, if there continues with the ... If you might want to flip inside the paper to read that particular story. And they also have that story of mother of 13 giving birth to quadruplets in Zaria, +4. Wow, fantastic. Let's leave it there for leadership newspapers.
Yeah, take a look at Daily Independent next now. 186 billion naira health intervention deficit stalls revised 2020 budget consideration. That's the big one here. This one, no ride or kicker whatsoever. Just this big, almost a banner headline. So, yeah. And then you have, just at the bottom, recapitalization. Insurers fear incurring costs over deadline extension. And by the way, you shouldn't miss this one. WTO accepts Okonjo-Iweala's nomination for DG. Remember, Egypt had been kicking about, wait a minute, you brought somebody else, and now WTO. They've accepted it. Why is direct and indirect problem still trying to poke his hand in my brain? Well, there you go. It's what's featuring here. So they've got to see what happens and how that plays out at the end of the day here today. So, but then NERC threatens to sanction 7 discos. Don't scoff at that. NERC is threatening to sanction. But will they? We don't know.
Big question. The Guardian is next. You see the big story. Confusion over bid rounds for 57 oil fields. DPR assures investors of fairness, but see that other rider. Niger Delta demands right of first refusal. Sounds familiar? Well, yeah. Here again, you see that term coming up when it comes to, bidding for oil fields in Nigeria. Right of first refusal. You wonder what that means? Well, it starts on the front page, continues on page 6. And you see the other lead story. Senate steps down 10.509 trillion naira revised 2020 budget. Knocks presidency over omission of 186 billion naira health vote. And you hear the Senate president saying, well, if we don't go through this the proper way, if we don't go through due process, you will say the Senate has padded the budget. So you know what, let's hold off and ensure things are done the right way, and probes moribund paper mills to review importation of published books. But let me just talk about that picture right next to the headline that shows Vice President Yemi Osinbajo virtually commissioning a 200,000 capacity yam storage facility in Benue State, virtually. So, I mean, he has set the tone, so there's really no reason to be there presently to commission some of his things. He could just do it via any of his video or teleconferencing
While the lockdown
apps.
subsists. But if they lift it, are you going to tell me one governor will now sit on the computer and say, I virtually commissioned this?
But it saves costs,
Exactly. Budget should
Don't worry, you guys are not politicians. Don't worry, just leave that.
You are? You are? You know how it goes?
I didn't say I am. I said you guys are not politicians. That's what I said. Everybody heard it.
Okay. Well, let's go back to the politicians now. The Daily Times newspaper has a story.
Oh, okay.
And it leads with no going back on Executive Order number 10. That's according to the federal government. Despite that conversation with the NGF, of course, some considerations here and there. But the details you will find on page 2 of the Daily Times newspaper this morning says it will work with governors on modalities for effective implementation of order. Well, the jury is still out there on whether or not we should even be having this conversation. But that's what you have right there on the front page of the Daily Times today. Number of other stories right beside that picture you see there. Insurgency, Zulum revokes allocation of unoccupied quarters in Bama, among other stories right there. El-Rufai opens up, Kaduna gives guidelines. Page 7 of the Daily Times has that one. And of course, that story on the bill considering to tackle erosion in Southeast is also right there behind the masthead. That's the Daily Times today.
Okay, so there you go. That is it. We'll look at some of the dailies here this morning. We're back in a moment and take a look at what's going on somewhere. So stay with us. Welcome back. Yes, indeed, we'll be delving into the health sector. Yes, we do know we're grappling with COVID and what to do about that, but you do remember that the NARD, that's the resident doctors, did threaten to go on strike because government were insensitive, were their words, to their demands. So now we're revisiting the matter because the House of Reps had waded in. They called stakeholders to see how they could agree on something. So let's find out where we are in the scheme of things. So we're headed to Abuja now. We do have Honorable Yusuf Sununu, who is the Chairman, House Committee on Health Services, as well as Dr. Aliyu Sokomba, President of NARD. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining us today on the program. Let me start with you, Honorable. Now, meeting that was held yesterday to see how they could assuage those frayed nerves and ensure that things don't go awry. If you were to, how successful is it? Where are we now? Are the doctors going to stay action?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me once more this morning to discuss this important issue. The issue is very important because it touched on average Nigerian. In Nigeria, the healthcare services seems to be expensive, and over 90% of it is out of pocket. And this out of pocket is both for consultation, purchase, and rest. So now the economy has gone down due to lockdown and locking down of economy. And the threat, we also have a threat of COVID-19. And then we also have the threat of withdrawal of services by the National Association of Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors. So this put us in a very tight corner, and everybody must work to ensure that the life of common man is protected. Now, based on this, we received their notice of strike, I think 2 days ago, around 3:30. And I have to rush quickly to inform Mr. Speaker, who's also double at Sadauki Yahudi, so that we can quickly intervene. And his own disposition, being a proactive leader, he immediately gave a directive that we should summon for an emergency meeting. Regrettably, the issues that were discussed has been in the front burner in our discussion since the House was inaugurated. We started right from August, and since then we have been dealing with issues that appear to be recurrent, and which the House believe that solution is there and we can reach a solution. But before I really conclude on the outcome of the meeting, really we must also say what are the really grudges. The issue also have to be with the funding of residency program. And I'd like people to understand, when you say a residency program, most Nigerians do not understand what residency program means. It is just a specialized package for doctors who aspire to acquire skill, administrative capacity, and then the discipline to operate safely, independently on their own as consultant or specialist, and to be able to impart such knowledge, acquire skill and discipline to the younger one, so that we can continue to produce specialists in the country. And this is the program that we are playing with. To us, it serves as a bedrock. And Nigeria has been training not only Nigerians in residency program. We are training virtually all the West African countries, and even some other foreign nationals that come to Nigeria to do their specialty programs. So the issue is that an act was passed to guide the implementation of residency program in the country, and this credit must go to Honorable Distinguished Senator Nambit Apiafi for insisting that the continuous industrial action that is hampering the progress of healthcare in the country must be addressed. And the only way we can address it is to have a legal framework that will address the training of residency program. And that was achieved in 2017. But the implementation became an issue. So since we came, we have been battling with that. The Act seems went to guide the entry, disengagement, and procedures to be conducted for one to be a consultant. And it gives the right of supervision of that act to the National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria. Now, the funding is supposed to come through IPPIS using the personnel costs of each individual. But unfortunately, since after our meeting, the directives agreement was signed so that the funding will be included in the personnel cost of each and individual resident doctor, so that it should be captured in medium-term expenditure framework for the budget of the following year. Unfortunately, that was not done in 2019. It was not done in 2020, and we are also now in we are preparing for 2021. So this is one of their major grudges. And then secondly, the issue of hazard allowance that was recently reviewed, and also the issue of disengaging resident doctors by the University of Just Teaching Hospital without following the laid-down regulation as specified in the Act. And then, among others also, were the issue of the arrears that accrue over time due to minimum wage and also due to consequential adjustment of salaries of house officers. Well, there are other issues that may be highlighted by this thing. Now, what was achieved so far? Immediately they told us all the resident doctors from Jos University Teaching Hospital, to our knowledge, except 2, were all re-engaged, and the other 2 directive was given during the meeting that they should be immediately recalled pending the information coming from the National Postgraduate College, and the CMD has assured me he's going to comply. So that is one of the issues that are achieved. We also look at the issue of personal protective equipment that really the National Association of Resident Doctors working serious to see that to achieve its availability. This I cannot fault them. We have over 200 and something, and then other health care professionals who are also frontliners. They were infected. Though we identified it's not only the availability, as the minister said, there is also issue of training, how to rationally use those personal protective equipment. But the major issue, the availability, is of concern. The meeting yesterday, we were told in that meeting that the DG, Director General of Nigeria Center of Disease Control and Protection, has circulated distributed personal protective equipment to the state hospitals and the isolation centers and all the tertiary health institutions within the country. We do hope that will come to see. And then one good thing about it also, in the 2020 budget, sum of money was also allocated for the procurement of personal protective equipment. Now, the other issue is the hazard allowance. In that meeting, it was a joint meeting, Ministry, Budget Office, and then the House. Chairman House Appropriation Committee was there. Chairman Ad hoc Committee on COVID was also there.
We'll get more perspectives from you in a moment.
But with all the evidence.
Okay, let me just bring in Dr. Sokomba here as well. So tell us, having attended that meeting, first of all, has the strike been put on hold pending when all of this conversation is over?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Well, I want to begin by especially appreciating the Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, and the various health-related committee chairmen of the National Assembly for swiftly wading into the issue of the industrial action of the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors with the aim of getting the matters resolved. I will also want to tell us the scope of the intervention yesterday. Because of the nature of the federalism we practice in this country, where the National Assembly do not have any jurisdiction over state government, the plight of our members at the various state tertiary hospitals were not looked into, unfortunately. But unfortunately, again, our members are composed of doctors from both federal tertiary institutions as well as state tertiary institutions. Therefore, the challenges of doctors across the various state tertiary hospitals, ranging from the indiscretional slash of salaries of doctors in Kaduna State, of doctors in Kogi State, the non-payment of salary and old areas of doctors at the various state tertiary hospitals like the Abia State University Teaching Hospital, the Imo State University Teaching Hospital, the Gombe State University, the Lautech Ogbomosho, Lautech Oshogbo, and all other various tertiary hospitals in the state remain unattended to, unfortunately, because of the jurisdiction of the Right Honorable Speaker to get the state government to do the needful. Having said that, I want to appreciate the Right Honorable Speaker once again for his swift intervention. The issues...
Can we then say that at the moment, while all of these negotiations and conversations are going on, the right thing is to hold the strike off?
Well, the decision to hold the strike off is will be discussed by the general at the general meeting, which I intend to convey anytime soon, so that we can present the discussions that have taken place between the association and the National Assembly with the view of getting this industrial action resolved. At the moment, most of the discussions we have had are work in progress. Some of these discussions have timeline within this week to be realized, and we are hoping that these discussions and these promises will see the light of the day while our ultimatum lasts. And the decision to finally suspend or postpone the ultimatum will be taken at a general meeting I intend to convey today at the shortest possible time.
Okay, good to hear that. But gentlemen, we also did get across to, you know, there were other members in the health sector who attended that meeting as well. So now we've got Dr. Obinna Ogbonna, who is the National President, National Union of Allied Health Professionals. Good morning. He joins us via Skype, as Zoom, as you might see. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. Now, having conveyed this meeting, the leadership of the House of Representatives trying to see how they can address all of this, how are you hoping that this will strengthen things, including perhaps the concerns that your sector, your union, have in the health sector?
Well, we want to thank the government for standing up to their responsibility now, because in the time past, we've made several incursions, several advances on the government to look into the health sector, the structural and infrastructural facilities, and the decaying obsolete materials or equipment that we have. But it fell on deaf ear. But thank God for COVID-19 that is trying now to create the awareness and consciousness, and the government is trying to respond as it were. So I want to put it on record that the health workers are not strike mongers. They are not just there to waste away, but they are there to render services to an average Nigerian. And if we do not have the enabling environment to render our services effectively, then it calls for us to make to make it known and to call on the government to do something. But now that the government is trying to respond, we are still watching, because it's not only talking or making promises that matters, but implementing and making sure that those agreements that have been made or that have been reached are implemented. We have several agreements that are still yet or haphazardly implemented as we speak. So for the National Assembly to have taken it up now, and even to the level of the presidency, well, we hope that actions will be taken in the right direction, so that other healthcare professionals, like in my union now, so that we also will not join in the strike, because it's going to be devastating on the Nigerian citizens, considering the present pandemic situation we are going through. This is not a good time for any strike, and government should not give the health workers reasons why we should go on strike. The basic protective equipment that we are talking about that should protect the lives of the frontline workers are not there. Many of our members are already infected, and some of them are in the isolation centers. More than 500 of them now are infected. And presently, as I speak with you, the Some of them are even dead. They've passed on. And we are waiting for the implementation of the insurance coverage, life insurance coverage for those who are alive and those who have gone. Their families are put in, they are put in disarray now. So that's why we need the government to be fast about whatever they want to implement and implement it accordingly.
Okay, we'll find out if they can be fast on some of those decisions that you've requested. But that will be, we'll continue this conversation in a moment. Join us again. All right, welcome back. Continuing our conversation on the immediate and remote causes of some of the industrial and planned action that we have experienced, hopefully may not experience in the days ahead. We'll find out. A lot may be dependent on this meeting that is going on with the House of Representatives leadership and the health sector. Honorable Sununu, now this may be a long drawn one. There is a long list of demands that different health sector unions have had previously, unattended to. As a matter of fact, as you did hear, Dr. Ogbonna said, or Dr. Sokomba did also say, some of the states have challenges that have not been attended to. How far-reaching is this meeting going to go in addressing the challenges? Yes, there's an immediate call by the NERD, but is it also going to eventually look into some of these other demands and ensure that things are done properly?
Well, thank you very much. I think the most important is those of us who are saddled with responsibility to protect life and properties of average Nigeria to be up to our responsibilities. Government representatives in negotiations must ensure that whenever they are signing or appending their signature on anything, is something that can be implementable. Now, even Mr. Speaker expressed his dismay. There is no reason why we called all the stakeholders, finance, health, budget office, and rest, to come and reach an agreement. But that agreement will not see the light of day. And now there is also another agreement in the signed by the representative of government through the instrument of Ministry of Labor with other various associations in health under the offices of Ministry of Health. Now, I think where we a bit got issues difficult was the fact that in some certain aspect, they would be told that money will be available. Now, everybody in this country knows money needs to be appropriated before it can be expended. And this appropriation, luckily when Mr. President thought of reviewing the budgetary allocation, a budget that was passed for the 2020, those demands, especially the hazard allowance, personal protective equipment, were also included in that budget. So the simple idea is that those can only be disbursed after the National Assembly finish deliberation on the budget, pass it, and then President assent to it to become an act. So these are the basic things. So I think there is need for us to give the right information so that will guide expectations and what have you for those who are signing those MOU. But the issue that we were discussing earlier, that issue that's under the House leadership is something that has took time. And we expect that over time, over the last 8 months that we have been discussing, we should have overcome a lot of issues. But unfortunately, that could not see the light of the day. A major issue people related to the COVID. But even Mr. Speaker made it clear that there should be issues that
quickly follow up on that,
if
on
you
what you
know
just
that
raised
you have
now.
an issue,
Just one moment, Honorable. Just one moment. If I can just quickly follow up on what you just said. Now, you said you've been discussing this for the past 8 months or thereabout. Now, that's perhaps not strange to some people and shocking to many, because you would recall that this issue of challenges in the health sector, especially that of doctors and all of that, is age-long. You would remember in the late 80s that there was this talk about brain drain all over the nation, and so many doctors had to leave Nigeria, and many of them are doing very well in various parts of the world. That has cost us a tremendous amount of mental capacity in Nigeria. You also recall what the chairman of the PTF COVID-19 said, that he didn't know that the issues we had in the health sector was this bad. If it has taken 8 months to converse, just to discuss the solutions, how far-reaching do you think your committee or this National Assembly can do in ensuring that things are done to end all of this problem as soon as possible?
The thing is, I think the House leadership is resolving now to hit the gavel rightly. Those who ever try to hinder the progress of this nation must be told what they have done, and the House must also be able to stand firm on any recommendation they are going to pass, because nobody should lose his life just because certain agreements that were duly signed, not under duress, could not be executed by the arm that agree that does. And they all agree, we all agree, including the National Assembly, that the demand were genuine, the demand were lawful because they are guided by the Act of National Assembly, and the demand are justified. Now, the only thing we just do is to ensure that those factors that are hinging on the implementation of those agreements are looked into further, and we state our final decision. And then the other issue is to know that those of us that are responsible should put it in their own distance. Strike is not the best for any country, and anybody is a potential victim of consequences of strike. Those who are partaking in the strike are potential victims. Those who refuse to do what they are supposed to do at the right time so that the strike can be abated are also potential victims. As we are now, most of our private facilities are locked down because of the fear of COVID-19. So what we have now is the public hospital. Now, if we allow this public hospital to shut down, what will happen to us? Nobody can go out of this country to seek for care. You can't say that you can invite a doctor to your house, but I assure you that will not provide the adequate care that you may demand. So that's why we must all wake up and see ourselves victim of those circumstances.
You know, Honorable Sununu, I recall Dr. Ogbonna saying in his opening speech earlier on that it's not as though, you know, they enjoy going on strike. So, I mean, you saying that it's understandable, but for them also, it's not as though they really want to. But let me take this to Dr. Sokomba, because, I mean, even the speaker yesterday had to say, well, this is not the first time we've had this meeting. We've had this severally. And you mentioned that, for Honorable Sununu, that you're planning to hit the gavel hard this time around. So let's see if we can hit the right area. So, Dr. Sokomba, this has been long drawn. What has been responsible for this going back and forth over time? Because we don't want to finish with this one, and in the next few months again, you say, well, we're given another 14-day ultimatum, we are going on strike again. So what are those areas we need to hit the gavel on, as it were?
Thank you very much. I want to reiterate what the Chairman House Committee on Health Services has just stated, that we have been on these issues as much as they remain germane, and everybody has agreed that there are germane demands that should be met. Agreements are usually reached freely and voluntarily. And to our dismay, when these agreements are reached, they are never implemented. The last agreement we reached was signed 8 months ago with clear deadlines for these agreements to be implemented. And unfortunately, because of the insincerity of some people in government, their ingenuity and their non-commitment to getting these matters resolved, these issues have lingered. And again, as he has stated, these are the same issues we have been following up we have been advocating on for the past 8 months. So it brings us to the point where we have no choice than to resort to an industrial action. And as he has also stated, the doctors as well as their families are not immune to the consequences of this industrial action. But we have no choice than to resort to this industrial action because of the insensitivity and insincerity of people in government who reach agreement freely, sign agreement freely, and unfortunately are not ready to implement. At this point, we have had discussions with the National Assembly, which of course is not the first time we are getting to have a discussion with them. The problem is, will this agreement translate to possible positive outcome at the end of the day? That's the fear now, because of course if we have reached agreement, this is not the first time we are reaching agreements that never see the light of the day. So I'm sure this is one of the fears that my members will entertain when looking into the agreements and resolutions we have reached recently at the National Assembly to get this industrial action averted. So I don't know. I want to call on people in authority to please keep to their agreement. And we are not strike mongers. We just don't have any choice because agreements will be reached freely and they will never be implemented. Even the Right Honorable Speaker was disappointed that these issues he had thought have been resolved since the agreements were reached. But unfortunately, they are persisting up to this moment.
Right. Now, the question is, before we go to Dr. Ogbonna, you have said that, I mean, the House of Reps jurisdiction is quite limited here because there are issues with state governments also. And while you're going to have that meeting with your executive later today, what is the plan to resolve those issues? Because it appears as though you are saying this has not been resolved just yet.
Yes, unfortunately, as I mentioned, the jurisdiction of the National Assembly to get the state governments to do the needful is limited. So therefore, the problems at the state institutions are persisting. So I don't know if there are any way that these state governments can be reached and contacted so that they can give our plights a consideration and get it addressed. So at this point, all we have at our disposal is to present this reality to our members, and I do hope that those are the state institutions and the federal institutions will put everything into consideration and take their decision on way forward.
So let's go to Dr. Ogbonna now and speak to him. Now, Honorable Sununu has talked about the National Assembly, the House of Reps, especially hitting the gavel hard on some of those issues so that we don't have a repeat of it. Dr. Sokomba has also said that associations of health professionals are not strike mongers, so it's not as though you always want to go on strike. And he's concerned that some of these issues need to be resolved at the state level. Now, Dr. Ogbonna, we don't look forward to NOAP, for example, saying in the next 14 days we will also go on strike. So help us avoid this pothole. At the meetings that we'll have at the National Assembly and other places that matter, what are your own issues that you want to be brought to the fore?
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to advise strongly that the National Assembly should take all these issues holistically. You don't resolve that of NAD and leave that of NOAM or JOESU and other professional associations alone. You take everything up now that the iron is very hot. We have submitted so many of our demands in the past. For instance, the issue of obsolete equipments for us to work with. We have mentioned that structural and infrastructural issues, the issue of adjusted cohorts, that is the welfare package for our members. Can you imagine? Because we raised alarm that the health sector is in shambles and we declared a strike. Our April and May salary 2018 is still being held because we blew the whistle. Is it correct? So many of our members have suffered a lot of injury as a result of inappropriate equipment that are not up to date. So many of our members are in trouble now because that salary that had been withheld has, placed some psychological demoralization on them. Then going forward, we want to say this, that in order to help the health sector work like in other device or other countries of the nation, you must know that when you are treating the system, you must take everybody on board. You don't do one for one group and leave the other. In as much as we are working as a team, that team spirit must be percolated to all and sundry. So I'm saying this, that the adjusted cohorts must be looked into, and the salaries of our members that have been withheld should be looked into. There are some of our members who are qualified consultants, but they have not been given that opportunity. They have not been given that opportunity to express their skills as consultants. It's important. Then coming around, looking at some other issues that are the cause of troubles in the health sector. The government also devises means of creating animosity among the team players, where there should not be animosity, by sending some circulars that can infringe on the rights of the other persons. For instance, we have a lot of various court judgments that are to the credit of the professional associations and unions in the health sector, but the government have refused to implement them. We don't know why. Instead, they'll be writing circulars that will cause acrimony in the system. That is not correct, and we do not expect the government to do such now. We have also raised the issue of looking at the isolation centers in our various facilities. Do we have the basic tools to work there, especially the protective equipment? Some of our people cannot really go there boldly to do what they want to do. We are just being very patriotic because of the average Nigerians that will suffer and that will die. And those who live in glass houses do not throw stone. We never can tell who may be involved. That's why we are taking our time. The NAD will go on strike anytime from now. But we are also sounding it to the government that the Nigerian Union of Allied Health Professionals, we are jostling and getting prepared for a showdown if these issues are not addressed.
Dr. Ogbonna, don't warm up for practice. Just hang on. I think the country will want you to hold on. Don't warm up yet, because they will hope that all of these things will be addressed. Because even the NARD, Dr. Skomba, he's going to have a meeting with his team to see how they could hold the strike off. But let me bring in Honorable Sununu on this matter, on some of the issues that Dr. Ogbonna has raised about the relationship amongst the health professionals. Many may be quick to forget, you're also a medical person yourself, and you do have experience and knowledge about some of these things. How would you suggest or advise that they handle and ensure that there's a very healthy relationship amongst all of those health unions, and not anybody trying to exploit any of those moving forward? Because you can't predict how states or the executive may relate with these health professionals across board.
Well, let me first of all thank my very close friend, Dr. Ogbonna. We have been together in the struggle. I am just the past Secretary General of Nigerian Medical Association. So our struggle has been together all through. The issue is that the House has been proactive virtually to everybody. Let me cite, just in the last 10 days ago, we received a notice by JHSU of Federal Capital Territory, whose also oversight is also under the National Assembly, the House of Representatives. So immediately we received that you can ask and confirm from the JHSU FCT chapter. I got that notice, and then in less than 24 hours, we summoned virtually all the stakeholders: finance, Accountant General Office, Budget Office, IPPIS, the FCT administration, just to see how we can resolve the issues. And to God be the glory that we have achieved so much. Almost more than up to 90% of the problems were addressed, and that strike was also abated. So this House has been proactive in every thing. The issue of personal protective equipment that was also raised is not only meant for resident doctors. In fact, the House made commitment that it will donate its 2-month consecutive salaries. Now, that was followed up by a motion of urgent public importance, directing the PTF to use the contribution of the House to procure personal protective equipment. And that motion that I raised was unanimously adopted, and resolution was passed by the House, because we knew once you have scared soldiers in a battle war, definitely you know you are going to be defeated. Our prayers is that we should defeat COVID very soon. So we can only do that when we get our frontliners being protected. And even yesterday, the Speaker has repeated the same issue. So I quite agree that the Nigerian problem is so much. If you look at all the pillars of health in Nigeria, virtually needs reorganization. If you look at the administration, the administration itself, it needs this thing. We have so many regulatory bodies, and luckily all those regulatory bodies were under the oversight of my function. We had wanted to create a harmonious working relationship. We are planning to organize a conference of all the regulatory bodies under the Ministry of Health before the COVID came, because we need to understand the working principle of Ministry of Health itself, so that let each regulatory bodies study its acts very well, understand its mandate, and then direct it's the associations and relevant unions under its offices to act within the mandate that establish them and guide their practice. Okay. When we do this, we also have the issue of harmony. And let me also say that the issue of industrial harmony in the country is something that I consider as a very important issue. As the Secretary General then of Nigeria Medical Association, through my president, we tried to extend relationship. We first of all paid visit to the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, and then the Pharmaceutical Society. We are gradually extending that when our tenure came. And then when the immediate past administration also came, they built on that. And we encourage all other associations to look at it. What is most important in Nigerian healthcare delivery, if we want to succeed, we must be build it around centered around patient.
Honorable, just one moment. Just one moment.
Patient-centered care.
Honorable, the issue that you have just raised now is one that is very, very germane, and we've discussed it with the NMA as well, and hoping that they will find a way to collaborate, just as your tenure there began that conversation. I don't know how far it has gone, but another one that I think, you know, you may need to intervene one way or another is to the states, because one of the concerns that these two associations that we are interfacing with as well on this program have said is that even if the one at the federal level has been resolved, how about the states? Now, one of the functions of the members of the House of Representatives is representation. Is there any way your members can be persuaded to interface with their state governors who they represent at the National Assembly? Is there any way that can happen?
Even yesterday, the conclusion was that though the National Assembly has no jurisdiction over state, but the National Assembly will use its good relationship with certain state government to reach out to them. Let me say we had two meetings, I can say. After that meeting, we also have another review meeting, through which we agree the House can use its members. I'm coming from Kebbi State. I have a very good working relationship with my state governor and the government of Kebbi State. So if there are issues that has to do with Kebbi, not only I can use my capacity as chairman, I also use my personal relationship to see how I can reach out to His Excellency so that we can try to rub minds and those issues resolved. And virtually all of us coming from various states have that good relationship in most cases with their state governors. So we have agreed that we are going to use that as another distance. We can also directly reach our leaderships in the various state assemblies. For example, nothing stops us from reaching out to Kaduna State House of Assembly, Kogi State House of Assembly, Imo State House of Assembly, and let them resolve issues. And let me tell you also, even in state, there were certain times when there were issues. I used my personal relationship to call most of those state commissioners, and then I also informed the speaker, who also used his office and close working relationship with all the governors, and reach to them so that we can tell them the impact of what is likely to happen if it's not abated. So we are going to use those informal and formal ways to see how we can further prevent this, the healthcare from going down. But we all have to agree that really states are not under our jurisdictions. They have their own state assembly. They can make their own laws to guide the regulation of their activities. But nothing stops us from using our personal, informal and formal relationship to interfere, to advise and solicit for the understanding of those state governments and all the state governors, so that we can go at the same page. Because as we are now, if one state declares strike, others are working, likely chances are that more casualty will occur. We have more widespread of transmission of coronavirus, and there is no way you can say that state is not in contact with other states. People must move in and out.
Thank you very much indeed for your perspectives.
So we have to take it holistically, really.
Okay, we do thank you for your thoughts, and we hope that all of this is sorted. Honorable Yusuf Tanko Sununu, Chairman, House Committee on Health Services. Well, Dr. Ali Sokoba, pardon us, we had to allow Honorable speak a little further because we needed him to proffer solutions so you can hear a lot more as to what is expected of those ones. So, but Dr. Ali, we do thank you for your time as well, and we hope that the meeting you have with your members go well and hold up the strike. Well, Dr. Obinna Ogbonna, thank you very much indeed as well for responding to us even on short notice. So we appreciate you all, and we wish you all the best. We will be back in a moment, everyone. Stay with us. We're turning to Edo politics now. Dimeji Fabiyi joins us next. He's a member of the Edo Governorship Screening Committee of the PDP. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Well, the drama in Edo State, goodness me, I don't know who can write a script and see how this will eventually play out. Very tough to predict, I tell you. But for the PDP, because yes, the feud between the APC is still going on. Is the PDP just waiting in the wings to see, okay, this might just benefit us in the long run? Or are you actually relying on the screening to produce the best candidate and not wait or not hold forth for, you know what I'm saying?
Anyway, thank you. Good morning, Chamberlain, and good morning, Nigerians. You have asked a very, very fundamental question, but let me answer you this way. First and foremost, PDP is a party that is truly and well organized. And even if a lot of people are believing that, okay, there are some itches and there, and these are normal in any political setting. Just like you said, PDP is just not waiting in the wings. PDP has taken its time to follow the processes of getting someone or areas of candidates whom the party members will pick from and that will be acceptable to the generality of the Edo people. What matters to PDP in this regard is that processes. I was a member of the screening committee, and let me tell you, Chamberlain, and I've been getting involved in party, assignments, but this one was very different. I remember the national organizing secretary of the party came to us towards the end of the screening and said, gentlemen, we want you to do that was before the commencement of the screening. We want you to conduct a thorough, detailed screening of these aspirants. We want to run away from issues, crises, after a candidate have emerged and then we're beginning to have issues going to court and all that, and at the end of the day, that may eventually lead to disqualification of such aspirant. He said, in his words, he said, there is no anointed candidate. We want the best for our party and we want the best for Edo State. So these are the aspirants we are presented to you. Screen them properly, be very dispassionate about it, and ensure that we have qualified and aspirants that can be presented to our party members for the primaries and, by extension, to the larger people of Edo State. Now, I'm saying this because a lot of people do not know the kind of internal reforms that have been going on in our party now. Fortunately for us, we have leaders now who are handling the party that have seen the need to get things done properly now, unlike what we used to have in the past. We don't want to run into a situation whereby someone, somewhere, at the end of the day will now come and come up with something, one issue that would destroy what we plan to do. For me, anything happens in politics, it's a good thing that APC is having their crisis. Let me take you back to memory lane, Chamberlain. PDP crisis started from just one state, and that was Ogun State. And that crisis almost consumed PDP totally. But thank God that for the leadership, for the kind of stakeholders we have that always converge and ensure that we push forward and we get better. This is the same thing that is playing out in APC. I wish them well. I hope they'll be able to settle. Where two elephants fight, the people suffer. And if care is not taken, I see the complete, crashing of the APC, the way they are going about it. Anyway, it's good for us. But one thing is sure, the PDP is ready, PDP is organized, and by the grace of God, we are going to take over Edo State. There are loopholes, there are advantages, and what matters to you is, as a person or as a party, is to make use of the advantage to your own good. And that's exactly what PDP will do the moment there is any opening.
Well, there is, talking about reaping from the fallout of this, if you want to use that term, there is this matter that the PDP has already raised about, the goings-on. Of course, Governor Obaseki has made a move to reconcile the parties concerned in this matter, but the PDP is kicking. Why?
I don't get that. PDP kicking because APC wants the...
Well, the Edo State chapter of People's Democratic Party has faulted the reconciliatory move by the governor of the state, of Edo State, wanting to bring parties together, especially concerning the House of Assembly. And, the PDP is saying, why do that now? Is that part of the plan?
I do not know. I'm not aware of this. I'm not aware of this piece of information. But I don't see reason why PDP should be concerned about the crisis, about the issue of APC. If I am PDP, I would even want the crisis to continue. So I don't know whether I'm not really aware of this piece of information you just given me. But I don't see the concern. What we need to do as a party is to concentrate on our strategies and make sure that we follow everything to the letter, things that will make us win the election. That is what is. Now, look at the three aspirants that we screened. These guys are super qualified. And we went through the screening. We discovered that they are okay. Anyone we present to the people of Edo State, we surely get the support of Edo people. So for us, I think what is best for us as a party is to concentrate on our strategies and the things we need to do to ensure that we get the buy-in and the support of Edo people. Edo State is a naturally PDP state, left for some of the things that happened in the past. And I believe that as we journey into move very close to the election, a lot of things will be more clearer. The caliber of people that were part of the screening, you can't really fault them. The caliber of the members of the committee that are handling the three ad hoc world congresses, you can't fault them. It'll be led by the governor of His Excellency, the governor of Adamawa, and so many others. So we are prepared, we are ready, and I think the leadership of the party has done it very. That's why the party, when the crisis, around February or early this year, when there was crisis, the party quickly moved in and resolved the whole matter. So there's no crisis, and I don't see a reason why the PDP should, even if they have more power, is to make sure that the crisis in APC is not resolved, so that we can have our way. That is politics. APC will do
absolutely,
the same thing.
Absolutely, that's understandable. But regarding the three. Right, pardon me. Regarding the three aspirants you talk about, you do know that one of them says he has divine backing, assurance that he will be governor. So you wonder, how does the primaries come into place when there's some sort of divine assurance, as it were? I mean, how do you see that playing out?
I have contested. Thank you very much. Every candidate in an election will tell the people what he has in his kitty. I've contested an election at the highest level of the party as a national secretary. I knew some of the things I said. Even sometimes when you don't even have the backings or the divine whatever, you will still say it so that you can get people to yourself, you can get people to believe you and that you have something to offer and you are the right candidate for it. So it happens. Everybody, I can remember one or two, I can tell you, a lot of people say a lot of things, even internationally. You see Trump saying this, you see this. There's also a lot of things that happen. People say things that will make people, that will make him get the buy-in of the people. And
right.
It's possible. But as far as the leadership of the party is concerned, they made it abundantly clear to us as the screening comes, because the screening is very, very key. Because INEC these days will just be looking at you to make the blunder. And when you make the blunder, you pay for it at the end of the day. Because the court, our laws said INEC cannot disqualify, and whatever party presents is what INEC will accept. And so the party made it abundantly clear to the committee that, see, do a thorough job for us. We don't want any issue. We have to, everybody is learning from Bayelsa experience. So we don't want that to happen in the party, and that's why the party is being careful, and the party is ensuring that all hands are on deck. So anybody can say, things that will make him get the buy-in of the people.
Thank you for giving us
that candidate, but
right. Thank you for giving us a lesson, politics 101. I mean, things said before the elections. But talking about the primaries, you have chosen to go the way of indirect primaries, and that has been a major issue in APC. But then now that the PDP is going indirect, what were the things you considered? Because we see that for the APC, it's direct. But what were the things you considered to say, well, we're going indirect?
PDP, naturally, since the history of the PDP, I started with PDP in 1999, and then I can't recollect any time we had a direct primaries. Let's be honest with ourselves. The crisis in APC has led them into these controversies, and good luck to them. But in PDP, we are one happy family, and everybody is coming to realize that, look, we need to work with the people. We need to build with the people. We need to give the people the best. Okay, look at the crisis in Ogun State, for instance. The crisis has lingered on for so long. But one gentleman just came up and said, no, this cannot continue to be. That was Honorable Ladi Adebutu. And the guy is putting all efforts in to ensure that every party member has come together. And they are really pushing forward, reaching out to the people, reaching out to the stakeholders that we need to be united to be able to get our state back for the party. That is how it should be. Unfortunately for the APC, the crisis between the governor, Obaseki, and the national chairman has led to this decision to go into direct primaries. They've never, I wonder how that is going to be. But for us, indirect primaries have been the tradition of the PDP. I'm not saying, although it's in the concern, I'm not saying we cannot shift when the need arises. But for us, it's okay, it's manageable, it's direct, and then it gives you the best. Because, and look at the situation, the situation in the country now, health-wise. We're having COVID-19. By going into direct primaries, you know what that means. You have to be really prepared to ensure that you don't create an unfortunate, situation, after the election. But for them, good luck to them. PDP has always been indirect primaries, and we have always, done it in such a way that it produces the best candidate. Does it not irk you that in the last, the kind of candidate PDP has brought up in the last election, I mean, you can talk of one or two or three of them that are doing wonderfully well. And this is as a result, is occasioned by the leadership, screening and the leadership recruitment process that PDP has put in place. Nobody. It will not happen again in the history of a party that one stakeholder, one godfather will sit down and say, this is it. We have gone past that era. My committee that I worked on under the leadership of the minority leader of the National Assembly, Honorable Kingsley Chinda, ensured that we were determined and we resolved that, no, the era of, when you see candidates, you stand down one candidate for this to emerge, has gone. PDP is trying to create a situation that if you are sure you can win an election and you have all it takes to win an election, come out and you'll be protected by the laws, by the provision and procedures the party has put in place. That's where we're going now.
I was kind of confused about which area when you were thumping your chest about PDP's leadership recruitment process. Is it in Edo State or at the national level? Because at the national level, PDP lost the election. At the state level in Edo State, PDP lost the election. So I'm trying to reconcile that. But then let me ask you this. I mean, with respect to the screening committee, all of those who will be involved in the world congresses and the party congresses, the processes that will produce the candidate, the flag bearer of the party in the state, will the party reject, for instance, assuming without conceding that that will be the case, if it doesn't go well for the incumbent in his party and he decides to fly the flag or approach your party, I mean, in politics, they say they consider all options. If he comes with that clout and says, listen, I'm willing to bring all the paraphernalia of state to prosecute this election on the platform of the PDP, how is PDP going to turn that down?
Let me tell you something. When we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. We are waiting for what will happen.
No, you are going to say that.
Let's see what will happen. You said?
How did I know you were going to say that? I suspected that was going to be your answer.
No, let's wait. When we get to the bridge, we'll cross it. For now, Governor Obaseki is a member of the APC. For now, the PDP has its aspirants who are ready, you know, to go the whole hog. So when we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. I don't want to preempt what will happen, but we have laws in this country that guides everything we do. I'm not saying it's not possible, and I'm not saying it's impossible. But when we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. Yeah.
But there's another bridge that you may have to consider. And what if Pastor Ize Iyamu is unable to get the ticket of the APC and he decides to come back home, so to speak? Would he be welcome? Would you give him the ticket?
It's the same thing. We have to wait until that happens. When it happens, then the party will sit and take a decision. I'm sure it will affect both sides. APC too will have to sit and take a decision, just as PDP will sit and take a decision on what to do. Like I said, we have laws that guide everything that we do, and we must be able to work within the framework of those provisions of those laws so that we don't run foul of the law. It's very, very critical. But politically, anything can happen.
Okay, now this is not about the bridges that you plan to cross. This is about the bridge that has crossed, the horse that has bolted from the stable. The Ize Iyamu is now in the APC. Did the PDP see this coming?
No, we never did, because he will not tell anybody that this is what he's going to do. It's his personal decision to leave the party, to leave the PDP and go to APC. I think if he felt that will best serve his ambition and all that. So we have put all that behind us. The PDP is moving ahead. We are mobilizing the people. We are talking to the people. See, this is the party for you in this state, and we are going to give you the best, and that is what we have started from the screening process. For me, whether anyone likes it or not, the coast will begin to get clear. We are going to have a very peaceful congresses to elect the adults that will elect the candidate of the party. And then I don't think we've ever had anything that like crisis again in PDP or Federal State. All that has been well taken care of. But we need to understand something, that even if there are crises, PDP is well endowed with leaders who can actually sit down and set things right. For instance, the national leader of the party as we speak, the former vice president of Nigeria, you can't really doubt that is a good manager of men and resources, who will always stand for the truth, who will always stand for the right things to be done. And I'm sure he has people like the former President Goodluck Jonathan and a whole lot of party stakeholders who understand what it takes, the dynamics and what it takes to lead a party and lead the people into victory. So that will happen. Forget what happened in 2019. Everybody knows that was a controversial, issue. But we've gone past that, and we're looking for a better future in the PDP.
Okay, we're winding down now, and there's a statement INEC made which gave a lot of people concern. But I'd like you to briefly respond to this. Do you then say you miss him, that Osage Ize Iyamu, or not?
Do we miss him in PDP?
Absolutely.
If I get it right, are you saying that
yes,
the PDP miss
Osage?
Miss him
yes,
as...
Ize Iyamu, yes.
I don't understand that. Miss him for...
Okay.
There's no missing. See, the candidates, the aspirants that have shown interest to run in this party, they are not you know, just anybody you can just write off. They have the stature. They have they are even not more than Ize Iyamu. So they have the capacity. They have the stature. They have the reach. They have the binding of the people. The party is just worried that we are putting forward our best arsenals. We need to choose one of them to lead us. So, and then I don't think the party is concerned or feel missing anyone that have left. You know, it's about the people, and people will choose who they want to lead them. I don't see Ize Iyamu consider any threat to PDP in Edo State, even if he emerges. I don't see that happen because we are going to present the right candidate that the Edo people will appreciate, and they will vote for him.
On a lighter note, after all, you have another person who said he has divine mandate as one of the candidates as well. So you're not short of people who are hearing from God in your party. Well, we thank you for talking to us this morning, Dimeji Fabiyi, a member of the Edo Governorship Screening Committee for the PDP. All right, and we're back in a moment, everyone. Join us again. Right then, let's take a look at some of the perspectives of Henry, and one is the first one we've got here today on the feedback. It says, until the issue of governance and coordination of healthcare delivery system with exact responsibility accorded to every tier of government expressly stated in the Constitution is addressed, today's efforts may not endure.
Well, Kehinde Nafiu also adds to that discussion, saying, considering the state of economy amid COVID-19, 2 months hazard allowance and some other welfare benefits being accorded to the health sector should be enough reason not to down tools. Government need to prioritize the health workers on the front line, he says.
Well, this one is coming from Arisa Chijindu. Says, before the Honorable Chairman jumps to this conclusion, which is unfortunately right, he should demand first that these doctors be paid. It's highly insensitive of any right-thinking person or government to owe any form of allowances of any health worker upon their continued sacrifice so far.
Well, yes, I think there was that decision yesterday. I think Governor was speaking about some amount of money being released to them immediately yesterday, but we'll follow up on that. Markwe?
Let's quickly look at this one from Ibrahim Omeza, who's talking about an issue we tackled yesterday. He says, good morning. I'm here to give more light on your interview with Vivian, an NPower beneficiary. She spoke the truth. I'm an NPower M-Build beneficiary who has not been paid since January. That's 5 months today. And there are many of us. Please help us out. Thanks.
Okay, so there you go. But we understand that yesterday, I mean, towards the end of the show, there was some loss of audio from here. So we didn't know that actually. So apologies to all of those who missed out on those. I mean, I'll really be sad if I missed out on some of those very crucial points that were made towards the end. So sincere apologies to all of you. So there you go. That is the show today. We thank you all for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain also. Just in case you missed it, you can always catch up online. Our YouTube page has all those videos, so you can go back there and watch. I'm Karadoki Kyolu.
I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful day.
Well, the virus hasn't left us. Please take some caution out there. Thank you for watching. I'm Mao Yusuf.